Nath felt Hacksaw's eyes on him. This time it was his turn to shrug. The orcs glowered at the elves. They were two races that hated one another with a great fervor and passion. Nath gave one a look as they went up the steps and started into the grand hall. The orc's bottom canine teeth stuck up to the side of his nose. I hate orcs. How can these elves stand it? Virgo led them into the grand hall. The guests were gathered on both sides of the aisle, but there weren't any pews or chairs. Less than 500 guests and dignitaries stood facing the front of the grand hall. On a higher platform there were two thrones, bright brass chairs padded with velvet pillows, one bigger than the other. 3 well-dressed red-headed halflings formed a tiny orchestra of string instruments that played quietly in the background. Behind the throne was a massive fireplace made from blocks of stone, just like the ones Nath busted up in Slavertown. Fang hung over the mantel. Nath's eyes enlarged. He broke out in a cold sweat. His mouth became dry. He slid into a row near the front with the other elves, feeling like he was about to burst from his skin. Fang was no more than 100 feet away. Mayfawn held his hand and squeezed. "Patience." She tipped her chin at the sidewalls. Standing between the portal windows shaped like rounded-off crosses were dozens more soldiers, men and orcs, equipped for battle. If Nath had to fight his way out of the castle, it would be a fight to the bitter end. The soldiers were as thick as flies in Castle Janders. He searched for an exit. The only way out that he could see were the portal windows, but they were long and narrow. He didn't think he could squeeze through them. This is bad. Very bad. He noticed Hacksaw shifting on his feet. The old knight cast a concerned look at him. Aside from the heavy security, the guests talked quietly with one another in casual conversation. The ladies in the room politely commented on one another's gowns and jewelry. The men exchanged stories about what they saw in the streets last night. Most of it was about the Oxen Inn burning down. There were rumors of a man with flame-red hair striking the tavern with a hammer he spun like a whirlwind. Many of the men rubbed red rings around the rims of their eyes. They yawned, and the heavier ones' jaws were sagging. They also chatted about the strange rebellion that swept through the streets, the rebel riders. They chuckled about the strange horse-riding bandits who they considered nothing more than pests that showed up in the names of baseless causes from time to time. For all intents and purposes, the people seemed normal, waiting to indulge themselves in a jubilant celebration, completely oblivious to the coming storm that Nath felt running through his fingertips. Mayfawn squeezed his hand again. "It will be all right," she said in Elven. "Just play along or else you'll give yourself away." He nodded. On the left side of the aisle in the same row were 15 more elves, similarly dressed in fine elven robes. They stood with their backs straight, chins up, and eyes ahead on the platform. They did not have the bird feathers woven into the braids in their hair like the Brothers of the Wind. They paid no mind to the others around them. Their hands were tucked inside their robes. Nath wondered if they were Callaghan. A cleric in blue robes with silver embroidery and a very tall, fanciful hat entered from a side entrance behind the platform. He was old, pale, and wrinkling. His eyes barely seemed open, but he teetered across the platform with rickety limbs and stood in the middle. Nath noted the side entrance. They were well concealed behind black curtains and could provide another avenue to escape. Perhaps I should dash after Fang and run. He started running through other scenarios. Now would have been the perfect time to slip into one of the Black Hand's hiding spots at the Whistler. He knew where their treasure box was hidden. No one would be guarding it now. He could take it, his treasure and items, and be gone. With everything in hand, he could start all over again. Darkin eased his way into the end of their aisle. All of the elves scooted down one spot. He gave Nath and Mayfawn a warm glance and a subtle wave. The cleric lifted his hands over his head. The sleeves of his robe slid down, revealing his wrinkly, tattooed arms. He dropped them quickly as if he was shedding water from his fingers. The halfling's music stopped. The talking in the grand hall ceased, and all of the guests turned toward the stage. The cleric started off by saying, "Marriage is why we gather." He spoke with a thick tongue, and marriage sounded more like a drawn-out marriage that drew a chuckle from quite a few people. "It is this matrimonial union that brings two people together, but binds the city in which it serves, too." He gestured to the left and right entrances off to the sides of the platform. The curtains were pulled back. Tobias walked through the curtain wearing a smile as broad as a rainbow. He wore a fine suit of black leather armor that had an oily shine to it. His sword and daggers were belted on.